can hear me. Once again, I'm using this microphone. Let me just adjust it. Ah, yeah, yeah. Whether you're going to see this, this live, I'm trying to take my shoes off at the same time. Whether you see this live now or you're able to join me later, that would be great. Just remember to like, follow, subscribe, share, let people know that I have this channel and that I'm communicating with people. I look forward more than anything to hearing people's comments and having engagement on these lives because it helps to understand that you're not the only one that is going through a certain situation in life, and you can get encouragement. I read the comments, I respond to the comments. As I had done in one of the videos, I had talked about the fact that we're all in this sandwich generation, right? We're all in this generation where we're kind of in between. We're moms, we're dads, we have our own lives and our own schedules, but then also we have the responsibility of taking care of our parents and making sure that they have what they need as well. So for some of us, it could be very daunting. It could be very overwhelming when you are in this situation and you have to realize the care that you give to your children also has to be, you have to supplement care for your parents as well. And so coming on here and being able to have that conversation and be honest about it and also help people to realize that they're not alone is something that's very near and dear to me. If you had asked me a couple of years ago if I was going to be in this situation, I'd have told you no, right? If you had told me 5, 10 years ago that I would be in this situation, no, I wouldn't have believed you. But looking past, looking in the past, I can see how things started to deteriorate as far as my mom's health and things that I didn't quite pick up, that I really should have paid attention to and really should have honed in on, that helped me to appreciate. That's why we're in a situation we're in now with me giving her care. If you're here, give me some hearts, comment, and let me know that you're here. I really would appreciate it. And so, being a caregiver is really, really, it's an act of love, as I mentioned in one of my videos. It is a labor of love. Thank you so much for the likes. Give me some heart, guys, and let me know you're here. Don't forget to subscribe as well. So, I want to give people some tips as far as what I've gone through being a caregiver and what I've had to encounter being a caregiver and why it's so important. When you are an adult child, or, and that sounds crazy, when you're an adult who's grown with children and you are a caregiver, you're actually teaching your children how to be caregivers, right? Because I hate to tell you, I hate to tell you, every morning I wake up, there's another ache, there's another pain. I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I get up in the morning, I don't bounce up out of bed like I used to. Am I the only one that's going through that? Drop it in the comments if you're experiencing the same thing. The older I get, I'm seeing changes in my body. And thank you guys for the hearts. I really appreciate it. The older I get, the more changes I see in my body. And I'm starting to, pop and lock. And it ain't because I'm dancing. I'm popping. I hear little aches and pains, the cracks. I get up. When I wake up in the morning, I have to stretch. I have to take stretches because that's where I am. Thanks, guys, for joining. Let me know who's here. Give me a comment. Let me know that you're here so we can communicate. Today, we're talking about caregiving and some tips that I found very helpful and how I got in this situation of being a caregiver. If you've watched some of my videos, you will know that, my dad passed away suddenly. But even before then, there were subtle signs that my mom's health was deteriorating to the point that it is now, where she's basically immobile. And so I want to discuss that and give some people some encouragement on what to do as far as caregiving. So I've noticed that the more I give care to my mom and show her that love and that honor, let's be real, that that she deserves, it teaches my kids to be better caregivers. Okay. And so, love bug, I would love to give you that advice about what to do. But right now, we're going to talk about caregiving and how that can benefit some people. Um, look, I'm not touching that one, okay? I'll be honest with you, love bug. But right now, with caregiving, I will tell you that I have taught my kids who are older, the more they see me give my mom care, the more they are more in tune to give care. So we definitely have a support system in our home. So it's not all on me. It's not all delegated to just one person to do one thing. We have assigned chores, we have responsibilities, and most of my adult children, they work, right? In fact, all of my adult children work. And those who are still in school, they have minor chores and responsibilities because that alleviates pressure just off of me or everyone. And so that's another thing that you want to make sure. Now, as far as my situation, thanks for the hearts, guys. I really appreciate your comments, your likes, your subscribing. I really appreciate it. And so, the negative comments, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I see, John, you're putting in negative comments. That's not needed here. If you don't have anything positive to say, please just go ahead and log off or go look at somebody else's live. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, I don't have worker slaves. My children really enjoy being a part of a family that's loving because that's how I raised them. Now, getting back to caregiving, and thank you guys who are giving me likes and those who are subscribing and who really, really want to pay attention to what I want to share. The first thing is thank you, Sonny. I appreciate it. My kids have a work ethic because I'm a hard worker. And that's what people also have to understand about caregiving. Now, I'm not going to address negative comments. Thank you guys for the positivity. I love you all for it. Now, when I first got into caregiving, I would do certain things for my parents because they were getting older, right? They were having problems with their mobility. My dad, before he passed away, was having signs and showing signs of dementia, right? He was forgetting things. He would forget simple things that really, really, you think that they would grasp or he would remember, dates, names of people. He would fall asleep, watching a show. He was just not always there. And so we started to see signs very early that my father's health, especially mentally, was deteriorating. And that was heartbreaking. And so my mom was giving him care. But then what do you do when the caregiver herself gets sick? Hey, Cool G, hello. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody. I'm only going to be here for like a half an hour. So I want to get most of this out and some tips that are going to help people. Thank you for the loves, the likes, the shares, the subscriptions. Thank you. And so I started listening to my dad. And I'm going to tell you something. Someone who knows that their health is deteriorating, when they start to tell you stuff about how to run things, listen. That's caregiving 101. So if you're helping your parents and you notice that they want to spend time with you talking about things in the house that need to be done and how to do certain things and how to repair certain things or keep an eye out on certain things, that really is a time for you to listen and hone in. Because I really, in retrospect, feel like my dad knew that something was not right and that he was going to have a lot of health deterioration very quickly. And he needed that support. He needed me to listen. Now, did I always listen? No, because I was out. I was running my life with my kids. I was a single parent. I was into what was going on with my children. And I really didn't sit down a lot of times. I listened, but there are times when I wish I had listened, right? Because he was trying to tell me how to manage his house and how things need to be done for my mom and things to watch out for as far as her care. Before my dad died, my mom's health had deteriorated where she really wasn't mobile. And my dad was doing a lot of the leg work, taking her back and forth to doctors, making sure she had her prescriptions. And my mom is not someone who succumbs easily to things, right? So it was basically teamwork. And there are times when he would call me and say, I need you to help me. My mom, a week before my dad passed away, she was at the hospital. And so I had to help him get her to the hospital, take off work, go help them. And it was joy in doing so. I stayed with her in the emergency room in the hospital because, that's my mom. Let's be real. I'm going to do what I need to do in order to take care of my mom. And so when you have someone who's getting older and they are trying to tell you about their life and what to do, that's the time when you, caregiver 101, want to start listening and tuning in and making sure that they're making their appointments because they realize that their body is breaking down, right? My dad, I think he knew mentally his body was breaking down and he would need that assistance. So let's fast forward to after my dad passes away. I realized then how hard it was going to be. There were all of a sudden responsibilities that I had to care for their home and financially that just blew me away, right? It's not that my parents were destitute and didn't have their own financial means, but you know how hard it is to budget my expenses and run and manage my house and then have to do theirs too. It was quite cumbersome and it was something that I really had to watch out for. Thanks everybody who's joining in. I know we talked about life after divorce yesterday. Today we're talking about Caregiver Chronicles. So thank you for jumping on and let me know you're here and thank you for the hearts. I really appreciate it. So, at the time that my dad had passed away, that was the time I realized I had to get organized. Even though, like I said in my, video yesterday, my live yesterday, I was going through things emotionally. And so what I did, I had to actually start dissecting their finances, right? Because my mom was grieving. And so the first thing, caregiver 101.2 is to get yourself organized, right? Especially if you, like me, had to jump into this situation. I didn't have to budget their bills and they manage their finances before then. And so having to do that now, having to provide that additional care, let me tell you something, I'm trying to budget my own checkbook. I'm trying to work and make sure my bills are paid. And so now to jump into a situation where I got to do hers too and his, and she's grieving, she's not really there, as far as being able to think through things. So I went through his office, I went through their checking account. I had to find out when things were due, as far as when things needed to be paid and what needed to be paid and how I was going to do it. And then I had to talk to her through this process in order to help me get organized. I had to talk to her about what she needed to do financially to make the changes so that I could have access to pay bills and take that weight off of her. So a lot of older people, especially in the dynamics of my parents' relationship, my dad did everything. My dad, like I told y'all before, was an alpha male. He paid all the bills. Okay. So it's not that my mom wasn't knowledgeable and my mom retired. She worked. Both of my parents did. They were an excellent team, but everything was in their name and I didn't have access to certain things, right? Thank you for the hearts. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the likes. You guys are awesome. And so I had to really talk to her about how to involve me so that I could help her in getting the bills paid. So get organized is point two. And being organized means that you're going to have those conversations. You're going to have to be completely intrusive into a person's life financially in order to be able to help them because you don't want them to lose anything they've worked hard for. And then having my family move back in here, it became even more important because now I've got to make sure the house is still running for my mom and for my children, right? And on a side, me too, let's be real. And so, point two, make sure that you get organized financially. There are things that we had to agree on as far as what I was going to pay, what she's going to pay, and what we split, right? Because I don't believe in living anywhere for free. If I thought I was going to live anywhere for free, I'd be on the street. And I don't believe in using her in order to accomplish something. So people may say, oh, she moved her 5 kids. She using her mother. No, let me tell you something. Your girl works and I work hard and I pay my bills and I contribute to this house. We split this stuff. Don't play. Okay. So anyway, that's just me and my experience. But I do believe my mom has her own rights to what she's worked hard for. Right. So I wanted to make sure that she was safe and she was protected and she is, making sure that she cares for herself. I don't know why they on the street. I don't know why. All I know is I didn't want to be on the street if I could help it. So I had to make sure that financially we were organized. And then the third thing, caregiver point number three, I had to make sure that my mom and I were on the same page as far as her doctor's appointments and her prescriptions and how they were going to, be mailed to her or either be ordered. Was I going to pick them up? And I needed a detailed list of what she actually was taking. So caregiving is very difficult. And let me tell you why. At times it's difficult because as an adult child, I have problems too. Like I have my own health issues. If you looked at some of my other videos, at one time, I was on insulin, right? I was on high blood pressure because I want to say I was overweight. I was about to say obese, but I hate that word. So I was like, I was obese. And so I had to take care of my health. I've lost 170 pounds. I'm maintaining. I probably need to lose about another 40. And then your girl going to be right and tight because I'm at that gym. I ain't playing. Now, I try to be a real one. I know you have to work. I know what I need to do. And I don't want to put that on anybody else. Let me tell you something. If I'm a real one, it's because I had parents that set that example. My parents were hustlers, right? My parents paved the way for me to see what a real work ethic was. I don't ever remember my dad. My dad would keep rolling even when he was sick, and so was my mom. My mom would do the same thing. So when you have an example like that, and if you actually analyze that example, it teaches you how to work hard. It teaches you how to work hard. And that's the same work ethic that I instill in my children. When I started working, and I remember, and this is just a side note, I started working at 13. My mom's mom was a domestic, but she was a hustler. That woman always had her game tight. You understand? And her bills paid. And when I was about 13, it came to the point where she couldn't really do domestic work herself. So I would accompany her on some days while she went to go clean houses. Yeah, I done seen some things and how some people live, I ain't gonna lie. And then after that, I was helping my other aunt because during the summertime, and I'm 13, 14. During the summertime, she was a school secretary and she needed assistance. And so I worked in the school office. I'm 13, 14, and I'm getting paid. Now, here I think I'm going to get this money, I'm going to do my own thing. No, my parents who were working and hard and hustler said, "So this is your rent." First paycheck I got, I was like, "What? You charging me rent?" And my dad and my mom sat me down and told me, "You ain't going to live nowhere for free. Nowhere." And so the moment you start making money, that's when the bills start. You won't pay something to contribute to where you live. And I raised my children with that same ethic. The moment they got jobs, let's sit down and talk about how much you making and how much you gonna pay in rent because you can't live anywhere for free. I pay for my own cars. I pay for my own homes. I work. Okay. And so you learn that from your parents. So now to see my mom in this situation, the financial income that she gets, that's for her. Because for me, as a mom and teaching my kids work ethic as far as caregiving, it's not my responsibility to drain my mother dry. That's not how I was raised. So I try to be a real one. If that's what you're referring to, Gizo, if I'm saying that right, if I didn't, I'm sorry. I do believe in working hard. Now, getting back to the pharmaceutical needs. So, getting organized, perhaps sitting down with them and having a list of what prescriptions they're taking, when those prescriptions need to be fulfilled, when the doctor's appointments are. She can make her doctor's appointments. She just checks with me and makes sure that I'm available to take her off. And we try to line everything up for one day so that all of the doctor's appointments can be aligned and she can knock out everything when she's out the house, once we get her out of the house. Now, we do work with her insurance company in order to do that. And that's another thing. Make sure you're organized as far as that. Talk to her doctors. See if there is some kind of administrative process where you can say, "I'm bringing her in to see her PCP. Can she see her heart doctor? Can she see the blood pressure person? Can she get her MRIs and scans, all her lab work done? The cardiologist, can she see that?" So try to organize if you're caregiving, and you probably have to take the day off because that's going to be a whole day trip. It is for me. And so make sure that all of the appointments are lined up for one day. If you can have any specialist appointments with the PCP, any blood work done, actually ask and see if you can do that. There are some healthcare agencies that will actually allow lab work to be done in the home. And so ask questions. If you're unsure and you're caregiving to someone, ask appropriate questions. So don't just take it as law. Oh, wow, this is what I got to do. Because there are many people in your situation, and I'm sure there are programs out there that they're not aware of. Once, when my mom had to have blood drawn, and like I said, her mobility issues are kind of hard for her. We struggle to get her in and out the house. However, we were able to have a technician come in and actually draw her blood right in the home. Went through the whole process like we were at a lab. And so keep that in mind. You may have to pay a fee for that. However, they take that information, that lab work, and they take it right to the doctor and get it processed after it's processed or whatever. So that's another thing. So we've talked about three things for caregiving, right? We have talked about how important it is to get organized financially and how important it is as far as the pharmaceutical to make sure that you have everything lined up, and then also making sure, that you're not overwhelmed. Let's talk about that for a minute, right? Because a lot of times the person giving care has to have care for themselves. And I'm not saying I need care every day. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that just check on your sister every once in a while. Just check on a girl and make sure she all right? That she ain't passing out because I'm getting older too. So teaching your children and the next generation that they need to be providing care as well, and how to do it, and the importance of care, is very, very important. Being organized, even in that respect, is also very, very important. Now, I want to talk to you quickly about the living arrangements in my experience as far as caregiving, because we do have a full house. This house, there's so many people in this house, and that's fine. I love it because I love family life. I love the family dynamic. My eyes are crazy. Yes, they are. And I'm going to tell you something. So, this is just also a side story. So, I went to Africa in December. I went on Hamatan, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. Got off the plane. I was in Lagos first, and then I went to another state to visit some family. And I'm telling you, my eyes haven't really been right since then. You could see the dust particles in the air, right? And when I got off the plane, my eyes initially got very irritated. But I'm so in love with Africa. I'm planning on going back very soon, so I'm so excited. So that's where I'm going to leave that. I will go, but I do the eye drops. My eyes, the light from the fluorescent light actually irritates my eyes. So I put on these glasses when I'm filming. You guys have seen I've been wearing them more and more in my video because, like I said, I'm getting older, and a caregiver sometimes needs care. And so I had to go make sure that my health was in order, which is another point you want to make sure of. So, if you've been watching my videos, you know your girl was divorced. You know I really went through it. What I didn't tell you all, though, is that my ex husband had a host of medical issues. And then we have 5 kids, right? So I stayed at the doctor's. I stayed caring for him and his needs, and my children and their needs, right? And very little time was spent for me as far as making sure by the time it came time for me to make my doctor's appointments, I was tired. So with caregiving, you want to make sure you don't fall into that same rut. You want to, I've known several people who were giving care to people, and they're the ones that suddenly passed away, and everybody was shocked. Have you heard of that before? Have you heard of that before? And so it really, really helps you to appreciate that you need to give care. Now, why am I putting my personal business on the internet? Let me explain something to you. This ain't all my personal business, okay? My personal business, the things that I need to keep tight, I keep tight. The things that I'm sharing with people, hopefully they will find beneficial, because whether you believe it or not, there are millions of people who go through divorce and they need encouragement. Because when I was going through it, I would have liked to receive encouragement, which I eventually did. The second thing, as far as caregiving, what I'm talking about now is because we are in that generation where we need to care for our elderly ones. And so, if someone once again can understand what it's like to be a caregiver and can get encouragement from tips that we share, then why wouldn't I? You say, I'm putting my personal business on the internet. If you didn't want to watch it, then you wouldn't be watching now. And if you didn't like it, you can keep scrolling. You can get off the live. Okay? So, the information that I'm putting out here is because someone needs to be encouraged and needs to know that they're not the only ones that are having to deal with this issue and this situation. A lot of people are lonely and they don't know who to talk to. They don't know where to get encouragement from. They don't know how to even begin the process. So when I tell you, yes, it may be my personal business, but it's the personal business that I want to share to encourage someone. See, the one thing that I think people don't realize in life is that we need each other. And instead of being negative and critical, then sometimes we need to just either keep scrolling, get off the person's live, or we need to just realize that the information that they're getting is stuff that they want to share. Because eventually you won't be in the same situation. You live long enough, you're going to be in the same situation. And I often find that people who are on the internet, why are you looking if you're not interested in hearing someone else's personal business? Let's just be real. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to be on YouTube. You do not have to even be on social media, but obviously you interested in peering into someone else's life. That's why you are on the internet. So, like I said, because y'all know I got a side to me, I try to maintain it. I'm going to keep myself done and keep myself together because there are people out there, in all seriousness, who are in situations like mine. My journey has been a tough journey. I share things once again to help people. Caregiving is a joy. Okay, caregiving is what we're talking about. Hi, Jester Hyro. We're talking about caregiving, and I'm actually about to finish up because I jump on another internet social media app in order to do a live there too, in case anybody else wanted to know why I was putting my personal business on the internet. Okay. So we're talking about caregiving. It is truly a labor of love. I've shared some tips. Make sure if you're a caregiver, you are taking care of yourself as well. That is so important. Do not neglect your doctor's appointments. Don't neglect your health trying to take care of someone else's or multiple people's health, right? And learn to delegate the responsibilities, as I've mentioned before, because that's what's going to help keep you grounded. Now, for those of you all who joined, and those of you all who are so supportive, and those of you all who are so positive, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. It's not easy to be a content creator, but the motivation behind being a content creator is love for other people and being empathetic to their needs. So I really, really appreciate you taking some time to listen because you never know, life can change in an instant. It did for me several times. It did for me several times on multiple occasions. And to have someone else be able to empathize with me and understand was a blessing and a reward in itself. So, all those people who are out there, you don't know what your life is going to be like. You troll the internet because you need advice and you need suggestions and you need words of wisdom and you need to know what direction to take in your life. Keep scrolling, keep looking. You may need to just ask someone who is in your life who has that knowledge and wisdom to disperse to you. And hey, Jack the Beanstalk, hi, how are you? Tune in for my next live. We may either be talking about life after divorce because you know your girl been through that too. Being a single parent, being a caregiver, words of encouragement and motivation. Because I'm gonna tell you, the world we live in today, we all need motivation and encouragement. Even people who don't even like to be on the internet. Okay, all right. This is your girl Essie. Remember to like, follow, repost, subscribe, share. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for visiting. I'll catch you next time, probably Friday. I'm out.